And they did what? If you have people around you and they hear you talking about God, they're going to do what? Follow who? Jesus, not you. Because they trust you enough to know what you're saying is what? True. Chris, I don't care how many concerts you do, it's all about Jesus. So everybody got somebody that like to hang around you. Don't push them away. Sometimes they get on your nerve, don't they? Why'd you look at being like that, Peaches? I'm just kidding. Watch this. 38 is a qualifier. Okay, listen to what he says now. Then Jesus, now watch this. Jesus don't walk away. They hear John talking about the man walking away. And then they start following him. Why do they follow Jesus? He ain't said a word yet, Elaine. John is the only one that's been talking. But these two disciples are followers of John. But John says to them, I'm not the one. John says, I'm not the one. I'm not even worthy to latch up to put his shoes on him, to tie his latches. But one is coming that is mightier than I. And so when John tells them that, they say, well, if he mightier than you, Johnny, we've been hanging out with you and we know you the truth. So we're going to follow him. And so Jesus is walking away, and then he does something. Jesus turned and saw them following and said unto them, what seek ye? This question is for us during the fast. What are you seeking God for? Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, we got to write down what we want. Can I make this personal? Jasmine, what you want? Write it down. Jaden, what do you want? This is going to be a part of your fasting and praying, is you ought to have something you want from God. What you want from God? Chris? See, God is so much God that he want to give you what you want. And you're activating God's desire to give you what you want because you're withdrawing stuff from yourself. You're fasting and you're consecrating yourself. You're making yourself what? Holy. You're following God's what? Principles. Now, look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, what's one of the first principles? To obey them that have authority over you. Who called for this fast? The bishop. Called for what? The fast. Why? Because every year we consecrate ourselves what? Back to who? To God. So that the year will be what? Prosperous. Even though we went through hell in 24, we still did what? We made it through. Can I get an amen? Listen what he says in 38 now. He said, Jesus turned and said to them, unto them, what seek ye? Why are we fasting and praying? Because we want to be in right fellowship with you, Father. Is that not right? That's priority one. Even if we don't ask for nothing, God, as long as you and me get along, as long as I'm following your lead, I can't go wrong. They say unto him what? Which means what? Master. That means he's in control. Will we submit ourselves to God this year? Some of y'all didn't say that real loud. It sounded like y'all said that kind of under your breath. Well, maybe. Watch what he says. They ask him another question. Where you going to be, God? Where you dwell, Jesus? How many of you want to know where Jesus dwells? Can I translate that into now? Where should he live? In our hearts. Rhetorical question, isn't it? Jesus, come take residency in me during this fast, because when you come and live in me, then everything going to be all right. Because watch this. When God is with you, nothing can go wrong. How many of us really believe that? Watch this. Even when I'm sitting, laying in the thing and looking at looking at these people in my arteries, guess what was in my heart? God, you got this. Are y'all with me? Watch what he said to them. He said unto them, do what? Come and see. In other words, you got to find God. He says to us, come unto me, ye that are what? Heavy laden and burdened. And do what? Cast them all on who? Isn't that what Paul said? Isn't that what Ann said? I thought I had a great relationship with my brother, and I did, because he was there for me. But God says, I won't share my glory with nobody. Can I talk from a daughter's perspective? Jasmine know her daddy would do anything for her. But God is saying, I'm not going to share my glory with even your daddy. Are y'all with me? Look what they did. They came and saw where he dwelled and abode with him that day, for it was about the 10th hour. That's irrelevant. But 40 says this. One of the two which heard John speak and followed him was who? Whose brother? You all got to bring your family members to church with you. Why? Why? It's because you found the Messiah. Can anybody say they haven't found God? Here we are, because I want you to follow me now. 40 says, the two of them, Andrew is more important than Peter. Peter never meets Jesus unless Andrew meets him. Now, that's not, I can't qualify that, but look at the process. You are the vessel God wants to use to bring somebody to him. Because watch this. God's got a purpose for your family member and you, but I need you to bring your whole family. I need you to bring your sons. And I loved it when you brought your son. I don't give Ann's son to somebody else. But maybe that's why he ain't coming back. Watch what it says now. One of the two was who? One of the two was who? Andrew, Simon's what? Peter's what? Brother. All right. 41 says, he what? He first do what? Find him who? His what? I'm not going to heaven without you, brother. Y'all do know Peter was a cusser. So that means Peter wasn't all that clean. He first found his own brother Simon and says unto him what? Read that with me. Say it with me. We have what? Lighthouse, have we found the Messiah? Lighthouse, have we found the Messiah? If we have found the Messiah, then we should tell our family. Look at your neighbor and say, that's one. Because not only are we going to tell our family, we're going to tell our friend. As a matter of fact, somebody said we're going to tell everybody. We're going to be a Johnny Appleseed. First he found his own brother Simon and said unto him, we have found the Messiah, which is being interpreted what? And when 42 comes up, Not only did I tell him about Jesus being, so sometimes instead of taking Jermaine halfway around the world, and Chris, you got to bring them where? To church. Because we have what? Found him. Where did you find him? In church. Now, some of us will find Christ outside of church. People have found Christ in the club. If somebody went and told them about Christ in the club, can you, I'm smiling, but can you imagine a conversation in the club? You're getting down. Hey, man, you know, I met a man named Jesus. Huh? Can you imagine a conversation like that? Then the person will ask you, well, how come you at the club? Because I wanted to bring him in here where I was. Because I bring him everywhere I go. Am I making sense? One of the best testimonies that I ever heard was, do you know how Rodney Washington Church grew so? They had a team of people waiting at Jazzco. When people don't got drunk, they mad, they sad, they don't see their boyfriend with somebody else at the Jazzco, they coming out, they ready to kill somebody, and somebody say, hey, you ain't got to hurt her. You ain't got to do that. I met somebody. I met a man. Named what? Jesus. You lost all your money at the dog track. Maybe we ought to have a dog track committee. Huh? They done lost all their money at the dog track, so now they looking for some way to what? For some comfort. Are y'all with me? Watch what Jesus does. He takes his brother to Jesus, and when Jesus beheld him, he said, thou art who? Simon, son of, thou shalt be called Cephas, which is interpreted a stone. How does Peter get to Jesus? Who? His brother. Because he followed Jesus. Watch this. Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, there had to be a conversation. What was the conversation? The conversation is, we know the scriptures. You got to know the word. And when you know the word, then when the word becomes flesh, that's how John starts off this chapter. In the beginning was the word, and the word was with God, and the word was. So when the word comes and you know the word, you ain't got to be worried about if somebody messing with you. I'm almost done. So here we are at 43. It says this. The day following, Jesus would go forth where? Into Galilee. And watch this now. Jesus actually goes and gets somebody. Because he said, you're part of the team. How much do you all know about Philip? We know very little about Philip, don't we? But he was so important, Ben, that's why Jesus went and got him. Why did Jesus go get Philip, Jaden? I don't know. Say, Pa said. Pa said because he needed him. How many of you know Jesus needs you? He's looking for who? You. Why? He says what unto him? Follow me. Y'all believe that? It's in the word. The following day, Jesus would go forth into what? Galilee, and finding Philip, and says unto him, do what? Well, where you going, Jesus? You don't hear him say that at all, did you? Because he knew the voice. He knew the word. He knew the voice. That's how Ann knew that guy needed to just talk today. What did you say? He didn't need a nurse. He just needed somebody to talk to. How many of you talk to people that get on your nerve? Watch what happens. He goes and gets who? Philip. What's the next verse, Jazz? Waiting on you, Jasmine. Now Philip was of Bethsaida, the city of who? Andrew and Peter. 45. Philip does what? How important is Nathanael? But how important is Nathanael? We don't know. But apparently he was important because Jesus went and got Philip, knowing that Philip was going to find who? Nathanael. Are we getting what I'm trying to do for this year? We got to find somebody. He findeth Nathanael and said unto him, what does he say? We have found who? Him, of whom what? Moses in the law and the prophets did write, Jesus of who? Nazareth, the son of who? That meant that he had to have some knowledge of him. It's 46, Jazz. We almost done. Nathanael said unto him, what? Come on, say it. Watch what he said. See, y'all, we fighting the wrong kind of fight. Watch what he said, what Philip said to him. This is what I said to him. Come and see. Watch this. I ain't finna argue with you. Watch what somebody gonna tell y'all when y'all bring him up here. I thought we was going to a church. But I wanted you to do what? All I asked you to do was what? Come and see. Am I making sense? Look at what Jesus is doing for you and for us and for me. He's taking away everything, all the barriers. Watch what people are going to tell us. That's too early. What else they going to tell? Well, you know, I rest on Sundays. All you need to say to them is come and see. We taking away all obstacles. But girl, you know that just come and you better get there early because it might not be enough seat for you. What did the people do when they homeboy was messed up and Jesus had a crowd of people? They tore up the roof and dropped him down. You better come early so you can get a seat. We got lots of seats right now, but if you don't come early, you might not get one. And watch what we're going to say to other people. Watch this. Next, he said, come and see. 47 says what? Jesus saw Nathanael coming to him and said unto him, what? Behold what? An Israelite in whom no guile. Watch this. Nathanael knew the law too. Who else knew the law? Philip. How did you know? How do we know Philip knew the law? Watch what he says to him in the preceding verse. Philip found Nathanael and said to him, we have found him of whom what? Moses speaks of. You got to know the word if you know Moses said that. Because they've been looking for Jesus to come, but he hasn't showed up yet. But they heard. Are y'all with me? Are we going somewhere this year? 25? Here's a conversation 47 between Jesus and Nathanael. Jesus saw Nathanael coming to him and said to him, behold, an Israelite who does no guile. Nathanael said unto him, how you know me? How knowest thou me? Watch what he answers. Jesus answered and said unto him, before that Philip called thee, when thou was under the fig tree, I saw thee. Watch what God is saying about you. Before you ever come to me, I already know who you are. Watch what people are going to say to us, Chris and Jaden. Let me get straight first. No, Jesus already know you're dirt. What, and when they say that, tell them, say, he knew the bishop dirt before the bishop came. That's how the bishop sometimes know your dirt. Because there's nothing new under the. Am I making sense? He said, I knew you when you was under the fig tree. And notice something about that. In 48, I saw thee. Nathanael answered and said unto him, what? Rabbi, notice the same, watch how he concedes. This is how you're going to know people like Sandy. This is your witness. Come and what? See. Listen, some of you trying to win people to Christ for you to get to church. You ain't got to do that. You just got to get them to Jesus. That's all you got to do. Get them to who? Jesus. Don't you try to impress them. Come and what? See. That's all you got to do. Tell them to come and see. And if they don't like it, put it back on me. I invited them, Bishop. They came, and you ain't preached worth a penny. Is that all right? I saw thee. Rabbi, thou art the Son of God. Thou art the King of the Jews. Jesus answered and said unto him, 50, because I said unto thee, I saw thee under the fig tree. Watch what. See, they haven't gotten a glimpse of it yet, because here is Nathanael who knows the law. He said, because thou saw me there, he says, believest thou, thou shalt see what? Greater things than these. Why are we getting other people? So that they can see greater things in God. Watch this. If you get a team of people together, you ain't scared to go talk to the enemy. But he said always have what? Two. See, while you're by yourself, you at the watering hole, somebody ought to be looking to see if an alligator coming. Don't be like the people that was down. Paul, don't you get down there preaching the gospel down there in Miami and take your pocketbook with you. While the people were praying, the people stole their pocketbook. Nowadays, it don't make no difference. You close your eyes and out there, just say, give me what you got. And all you got to do is say, here's Jesus. Here we go as we close. 51, this last verse. It simply says this. And he said unto him, verily, verily. What does verily, verily mean? Huh? What does it mean other than hear ye, hear ye? It means it's going to happen. Can we make that plain? I say unto you, hereafter ye shall what? See heaven open, and the angels of God ascending and upon the Son of Man. Now, do we see any place in the book where that occurs with Nathanael? Who do we see that with? We see it with, no, we see it with, no. We see in the New Testament, we see Jesus with Peter, James, and John on the Mount of Transfiguration. We never see it with Nathanael other than when Jesus is rising up to go back to heaven. Is that all right? Is this sufficient enough for us to have for a whole year? Huh? Well, we got to eat for a whole year, don't we? We have to eat for a whole year. And guess what? What should be happening is we should be inviting guests. So we're going to need a lot of